Hello, everyone. Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, or wherever you are. My name is Vitor Tome. I'm from Portugal, and I would like to thank you very much, Eurasia Research and Teaching and Education Research Association, for this invitation to take part on the TERA International Summit. It's for me a pleasure and honor to be here and to share uh, this research with you. If you allow me, I would like to share my screen with you. I prepared some slides to present this research. And this research is a project that started in 2015, in the field in 2016, and that is currently focused on media literacy and STEAM. uh, how very young children can become social actors in their own lives, in their local communities, in their countries, in their national communities. But we will focus on this, especially on local communities. So, this talk is organized in five different moments. The first, we will focus on idea and framework. Then stage one of this project, the years 2016-17, the stage two, the years 2018-19, and the stage three that started by late 19 and will end in December 2022. Finally, I will present some conclusions and final thoughts of this project. So, the idea was to develop a project, a community-based project, and our problem was how a community-based project focused on media literacy, on digital citizenship education, can empower preschool and primary school age children in order to become active and effective citizens in the digital era. To do this, we organized the project, and we had three main questions. How can an in-service teacher training on media literacy improve teachers' digital literacy practices in classrooms? What are the digital literacy practices of young children in school, family, and community contexts? And how do formal and informal learning contexts shape children's digital literacy practices? In this talk, we are going to try to answer to the first question. So, how can in-service teacher training on media literacy improve teachers' digital literacy practices in classrooms? And to do it, let's start by the location. And this project is based in Europe, of course, and inside Europe in Portugal, and inside Portugal near Lisbon, namely north of Lisbon, in an area that is organized by the local government, the parish of Canesses and Ramada. This project, as I told you, started in 2015, but 2016 in the field, following an intervention model developed by Sefton Green, March, Ersod, and Fluid. And this model is focused on very young children, as I've just referred. But it's interesting because we focus on children, namely how the children act when they are called to, or they are invited to design, produce, distribute, and interpret different media messages, how they mobilize the critical, the cultural, and the operational areas, not only at the micro context, this is the child context, but also in the meso context, a more general context that involves the home, the extended family, friends, peers, and communities, not only in formal spaces, but also in informal spaces, for instance, clubs or museums. And then we have also a more, even more general context, that is the macro context, it's the cultural context, it's the society in which the local and the nation contexts are inserted. So this was our idea to intervene, but to do it, it was crucial to collect data and collect data from children, families, and teachers, at least to start. So we decided to start training teachers on digital citizenship education for democratic participation. And this training started, it was the beginning of the stage one of this project, started in 2016. We had 25 teachers that we trained, and it was really, really interesting for them because they were able to develop digital citizenship activities with the very young children, preschool and primary school children. You collect data from them, how they used technologies, what were their perceptions on teachers' use, but also on children use of technologies, and about their daily practices with children. And after collecting this data from teachers, we were able to interview uh, 38 children and their parents. And so having all this data in mind from teachers, from families and children, and also from the training, we established an intervention plan according to the teachers and parents and children, of course. And this intervention plan its implementation started in September 2016. From this plan, one of the main outputs was the school newspaper, the Busybody, a printed school newspaper, because 10% of the families had no access, had no internet access at home. And so it was important to include all of them. We discussed the main stories of these three first editions were the first one on the left, being a digital citizen, in the center, how to have a school without violence, and third one on the right, how the children imagine the playgrounds in schools. The school newspaper was called the Busybody, and this the logo and the name was chosen by the children through the context that was organized at school level. They also discussed the forest fires. They tried to help local and national authorities on reforestation. They were really, really keen to participate, and they were able to do it. They discussed human rights and democracy. It was really interesting. How can they achieve to understand how human rights, how children's rights are key? Um, they had the opportunity to write to the Ministry of Education, because the Ministry of Education visited the school, and they asked them, okay, we need this and this, and the minister uh, told them, okay, you can write me a letter, and they did it. They wrote a letter to the Ministry of Education, and the Ministry of Education got the letter. On stage two, after 2017, we focused on a model developed by the Council of Europe, the Digital Citizenship Education building or temple, that the basis are the competences for democratic culture. This is the values, attitudes, skills, knowledge, and critical understanding that each citizen needs to be an active and effective citizen today. And also on 10 digital citizenship domains. One of these 10 domains are media and information literacy. That was the most important one, but all the others are mobilized also through this project. And so we focus on policies, actors, strategies, infrastructures and resources, and on evaluation. Assessment is key in this project. So in 2018, we decided to organize, because the teachers asked us, we decided to organize a new training course on media literacy at school newspapers. And we updated the intervention plan after this training, and after this training, having always in mind the whole school approach. And this whole school approach is an idea from the Council of Europe, developed by Huber and Reynolds in 2014. And it is in each activity, in each plan, in each school plan, all the members are mobilized and have a role, from the school board to the teachers, children, families, and other school workers that are not teachers, of course. They have other roles inside schools. And this was something really interesting for us, because this helped us improving the project. And we were able to develop different activities. So one of the activities was on a Friday, the children were asked to think during the weekend what's happening in the world, and please choose the main story. And they chose a main story, discussing with them with families, peers, or other. They had this opportunity, and when they arrived to school on Monday morning, they came with 160 different stories. They voted the most important ones, and they voted 16 stories. One of the 16 stories, we are going to see a little discussion about one of these stories. And this discussion was made through the TV news service that they decided to produce, because apart from having the school newspaper, they decided to produce a TV news service with using only the mobile phones, that the teachers' mobile phones. Let's hear 1 minute of this.
Bem-vindos à Cusco TV. Sou Beatriz Alves e trago-vos várias reportagens sobre o mundo dos alunos jornalistas da Escola Básica Artur Alves Cardoso.
Olá, eu sou a Diana e hoje quero contar-vos as notícias de uma menina que morreu no Brasil com 9 anos, assassinada. O homem não explicou porquê e eu ainda estou a resolver essa situação desde outubro do ano passado.
Onde é que tu viste esta notícia, Diana?
Na TVI.
E tu costumas ver notícias na TVI?
Sim.
E noutros sítios também?
Sim.
Conta-me lá, porquê que escolheste esta notícia?
Chamou mais a atenção.
E porquê que te chamou assim mais a atenção?
Porque era uma criança ainda pequenininha e eu preocupei-me muito.
After that, we showed the TV news service to the parents, and we discussed this with the school psychologist. And we told parents, please discuss the news stories with your children, because they like to hear about what's happening in the world, but they fear the news because in some cases they don't understand. And it's really important, because they chose mainly negative news stories. Only 3 out of the 16 most voted stories were positive. So it's important and key to have this discussion with their children. One activity that we selected from the preschools was, let's rethink the school. We have here in dark orange the main building, the primary school. Here is the preschool, three rooms. This is the canteen, this is the football field, and a small playground that they have. So let's rethink school. Can we draw the school? And they drew the school, and they drew, of course, themselves, because they are to focus on themselves. They are very young children. And they also chose the main building, the primary school, because it's the most important building in the area. But then we told them, okay, can we do something different? Can we ask other people to cooperate with us? What would you like to do? Can we reinvent the school? And they decided to produce a scale model. So an architect, which is the mother of one of them, and an engineer also helped us and helped them, and they together produced a scale model. As you can see, the primary school building just vanished, and they have a road to understand and to learn about road safety with traffic signs that really work with the different lights. They have a vegetable garden here, because they really like to have a vegetable garden. Then the football field, then a swimming pool, the canteen, and the three rooms the three classrooms that they had already. So this was interesting. This was a way to start to develop STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics. This was the one photo from the process. They also discuss their problems and their doubts with the school board, namely with the director of the school grouping. And this was really important. They discussed for an hour and then they produced a new story for the school newspaper. At the stage three in 2019, late 2019, we decided to focus on STEAM and media literacy. It was not easy, but the idea was to, okay, let's organize a training in STEAM and media literacy. The training was scheduled for March, but due to school lockdown, because of the pandemic, it was postponed to September, December 2020. Our idea was to improve the community project, to create a sustainability plan, and to replicate the project in other areas of Portugal. Let's see what we understand for media literacy. Of course, is the result of media education activities and consists of knowledge, skills, and abilities need to participate in society, being able to access the media, analyze, critically evaluate the media and its messages, and also to produce reflective and creative messages in a wide variety of formats. And STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics is important because it's a project-based learning methodology. And the idea was to identify problems that children think that are key for the community and try to not, if not solve these problems, at least to point some possible solutions for these problems. The idea was service learning also. Why crossing? Because STEAM and media literacy together are really key to communicate, to learn, and then to work, to prepare them also to late work. Then at the primary school level, they, as the research showed, have positive effects in terms of creativity, critical thinking, design thinking, and digital skills. And at the maker spaces, this means spaces, special spaces, specially organized for STEAM activities. They started from children's interest. This means what is important for children is what we are going to develop in these maker spaces, having in mind always the needs of the community, trying to find solutions or to identify solutions, having always in mind the prior knowledge of these children, allow them to play and learning at the same time. And this play implies the analogical and digital tools. This means it's a post-digital maker play, not only digital, but analogical and digital at the same time. The mission was to train 29 teachers during 40 hours, helping them to plan, implement, and assess workshops. They were able to plan. They were organized in groups of two, but one of the groups had three teachers because there were 29. And these groups were able to plan 28 workshops and to develop, implement, and assess 17 workshops. And this assessment was the assessment by children, by teachers, by the researchers, by parents, by everyone. Everyone has had a word, had a say regarding the assessment of this work. Let's see some of these workshops that were developed in a minute. But first, let me tell you that we had to overcome important constraints, especially the pandemic conjuncture, as you can understand, of course, but also the physical conditions at school were not the physical conditions that the teachers needed. There was a lack of resources, not only digital, but also other resources. Children in most cases were not prepared to develop some activities, and it was difficult because the diversity is very important, but in some cases we need to help or to create strategies to help some participants because they were not prepared, and teachers, of course, they were lacking some training on STEAM. That's why we were working on that, on it with them. But they were able to overcome these constraints through reflection and monitoring, doing this on a daily basis, on a permanent basis. They help children improving their competencies by trial and error, and they work together. Teachers from different areas, from the second cycle, from math, science, arts, preschool teachers, primary school teachers, they work together as the students. They really collaborate between among. There was an important collaboration among students. In some cases, teacher resources were used, and the teachers worked after hours, and also the families and the community really helped them. So we are able to produce, for instance, the vegetable garden. Children are responsible for the vegetable garden. They organize everything. This vegetable garden has a straw man. This straw man is called Arturão because the name of the school is Arturão. It comes from the name of the school, and now it's the main character in some news stories and in some stories that they are producing at school, not only for the school newspaper. They were able also to produce musical instruments and to interpret the Turkish March by Mozart at the preschool level. They organized a Chinese show, a shadow acting, focused on the wolf story. It was really, really interesting. They produced everything from stage 0 to the final presentation. And they also organized the video. They produced a video about this shadow acting. The students from the primary school produced an electronic quiz about geometric solids that they played with other colleagues. These children from primary school produced a kit for bean growth that they shared with the preschoolers, so they were able to understand how the beans grew, and it was really, really something new. It was sharing something that was related with science. Then at the primary school level, they learned about road safety, and then they went out of the school trying to understand if the local authorities were implementing the rules that they have just learned at that moment, and they realized that they didn't. So they produced a scale model. They said, okay, we need to change this. And they took photos and sent these photos to the local government asking for action. They also reproduced a scholar system using simple materials, as I can show in a few seconds. This is a K line, and this is a microwave device. So it was important to improvise because we had not all the resources that we needed, but they were able anyway to produce this with the support from teachers and from an engineer. It was possible to produce an object that now is used by other children at the school level and also in other schools from the school grouping. We also produced a sense-making practices handbook. This sense-making practice handbook was related with the YouTube channel because all the families had internet access at that moment. And also we produced the online school newspaper through which we continue to make available the PDF versions of the printed version. This book was focused on the main models that we have internationally and on the educational policies in Portugal. And all the plans had the plan in itself, but also a QR code. And this QR code gave access directly to the video that respect this workshop. So from each workshop, they produced a media message, a video explaining the process and the product, the result of this workshop. It was really, really interesting. They like to produce the workshops, to participate in the workshops, the preschoolers and also the primary schoolers. They are not sure about if they are prepared to face difficulties. They were, but they didn't understand it. It's something that we are discussing with them. The teachers identified positive aspects, namely the appropriateness of the workshop team, sharing experiences, the idea and practices, the cooperation with other teachers from other scientific areas, the interdisciplinary cooperation, as we called it, the usefulness of learning, and the creation of resources, as we have just seen, for instance, the model. The two models, one from the universe and the other from the school. And to conclude, let me tell you that in 2016, focusing now on technologies were a surprise because teachers were not aware that children really used technologies. They were not aware. They were surprised when they realized that they were heavy users. In 2018, technologies were more related with the advantages because yes, it's interesting because they are okay to motivate students, they are okay to learn. And in 2020 they are not something that they use to motivate, but they are a necessity. It's key to develop the workshops and to produce videos from these workshops. So surprised, advantages, necessity. The workshops are based on the interests of children. They are associated with play and creativity to learning. They encourage cooperation, promote participation and social intervention. This means they involve children on assessment, giving them a voice to improve the workshops and the assessment forms, but also to change school, to change the community, to change the world. And answering the problem, okay, how can in-service teacher training on media literacy improve teachers' digital literacy practices? Teachers through these trainings can develop activities with their pupils using traditional and or digital technologies, especially during in-service teacher training courses. This is important. So we must give them the will. We are someone that are supporting them, but children have the main ideas. The teachers help them developing these ideas, and the researchers help the teachers. To what extent a community-based project can empower preschool and primary school age children? The methodological model is suitable because they developed competencies, digital literacy competencies. The children and teachers, and of course all the members involved in the project, and offer them. But it's key to offer children the opportunity to provoke social changes. And it was my talk. Thank you very much for your attention, and I will be honored to answer to your questions. Thank you very much again.